Queen, what a
QAnon.
Quinoa.
You
talking about quinoa? You talking about that rice? You talking about that fake rice? Quinoa. You get all this craziness, man. So I'd say, Welcome to Different Thought Podcast. We're back.
We back.
And we back up in this thing again. All right, welcome everybody to Different Thought Podcast. My name is Mike Hayes with my co-host
James.
Just James. Just James.
What? Did I stutter?
As y'all know, this is Justin McBath. As you all know, if you've been listening to season 1, he always changes his name in every episode. So it is what it is. Today we have James. So
James.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. James. Well, James, we are finally into season 2, 2021. 2020 was like it just popped off. Blank just popped off. I mean, that's all I can say about 2021. 2020, excuse me. Yeah. So, to keep things moving, as always, we start our show off with Straight Like That. For those of you first-time listeners, first-time viewers, Straight Like That is basically hot takes. It's us just getting whatever it is off our chest. No debate, no discussion. Just, this is how I feel about certain situations, and this is how we're going to move. Justin, I'll let you start off. What's your Straight Like That?
Man.
Uh-oh.
Oh. I mean, I'm going to keep it short because I guess I'm notorious for being long-winded on these. Man, Straight Like That, y'all Republicans are gullible, dude. Like, gullible. Like, y'all let, this dude really talk y'all into all this stuff. I mean, think about it. There are 30,000 counties in this country, and you expect that there's a conspiracy that people were miscounting votes, just the presidential vote, but not the down ticket for 30,000 counties, and they all conspired against each other, against the president? Come on now. None of that makes any sense. Y'all are gullible. That's all I got. Gullible enough to where basically you got the kids of the parents that were in all the civil rights pictures throwing rocks at the black kids storming the Capitol. That's basically what just happened.
Well,
that's all I got. Republicans.
I ain't gonna disagree with that. I mean, there was a certain agent of Orange that said that if he ever ran for president, he would go with the Republican Party because they would believe anything he said. But anyways, I digress. My Straight Like That today is this busted challenge. It ain't for everybody, bro. It ain't for everybody.
Busted challenge,
bro. If you don't, just stop.
Is it what I think it is?
I put it like this. If you hear, girl, I think my butt getting big, it's almost like hearing that downbeat of Juvenile's Back That Thing Up.
Uh-huh.
Like, I swear every dude is probably like, oh Lord, okay, what's she doing? But there's some videos out there that's like, sweetheart.
It's not your business.
Sweetheart, this is not. And busted challenge is not for dudes. Let's just get that out the way. It ain't for dudes. And I done seen a couple of dudes try it. I'm like, dog, nobody wants to see you, dog.
Hey man, it's 2021, man.
Okay.
There are no dudes and no girls apparently now.
You right. My bad. That was very politically incorrect of me.
It's fine.
But like I said, busted challenge ain't for everybody.
That's what it comes down to.
All right, moving on.
See that's what happens when you get off social media.
Moving on. Let's talk about Take a Shot for You. That's our next segment. Take a Shot for You is basically, we take a shot for someone, giving them kudos, or it's like, look, man, you got me drinking because you crazy. So I'll go ahead and kick it off. My Take a Shot is for 2 people. One, I can't start off season 2 without shouting out my wife. As I've said in the past, if it wasn't for my wife, Ariel Hayes, we would not be in this room doing this recording because she's the one that kind of gave the kickstart and went out and purchased that mic, and said, y'all, you need to start a podcast. So first shots for you, sweetheart. Love you.
Yeah, the Puerto Rican.
I wasn't ready for that. The second shot is for when this episode airs. It will be Senior's birthday, and by senior I mean Michael Anthony Hayes, Senior, my father. and I did just put my whole government name out there. Um, February 2nd is my father's birthday. So I just want to take a shot for him and acknowledge him for raising me and preparing me to be a father of a child of my own. Great man. Um, think the world of you. Love you, Pop. This shot's for you, Justin.
Two great shots. Two great shots. Man, mine's really easy. Today, we lost a pillar in Black history and just in general. I think that what he represents in sports. But Hank the Hammer passed away today at age 86, and he was the first. He broke all the home run records legally, mind you. He didn't need any help. The man was cold blooded. I didn't realize how relatively slight he was. I mean, 6 foot tall, 180 pounds. I'm like 5'9", and I'm like 195. So I'm like, this dude was killing. So I mean, and that's just a testament to his skill as a baseball player to be able to hit that many home runs in that era of pitching and all of that stuff, where things I think personally were just a lot harder then. So without the types of training regimens and stuff that players have now. So Hank the Hammer, he was definitely a light that followed up after Jackie Robinson and others. I think I read a quote from him today that I thought was kind of funny. He's like, on the field, black players are like giants, but off the field, we still been the back of the bus. I was like, dog.
Yeah, I was gonna add to that because I actually forgot. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. For me, Hank was a big influence for me because I grew up. That was the first sport I played was baseball, and the first thing my dad taught me was about the Negro League. And my dad and my great grandfather taught me about the Negro League and things of that nature. And just to find out, that a black man broke the great Brave Ruth's record, but at a time of social injustice, we're still in that right now. But for him to do what he did and deal with all the things he did, like listening to the story of when he finally broke the record, I don't know if you ever heard of it, when he was just like, he was in the locker room, he's like, I'm breaking it today because I'm tired of this. Like, I'm tired of being harassed. So I'll let you officially.
Yeah, it's just crazy. This man received death threats for a game. Like,
hey man.
But I get it. It's a game that's definitely not intended for everyone to play.
Hadn't much changed about baseball. I'm just gonna keep sipping.
Anyway, that's my shot. And we'll turn it back over to you, sir.
What you drinking, by the way, brother?
Oh, what am I drinking? Oh yes, the original. The original Jack Daniels right here, Uncle Nearest. This is a small batch, so it's a little bit hotter. It is. It gets you feeling right real quick.
I'm drinking, of course. Y'all know me, my do say, if I do say so myself. Moving on. So 2020, as I said at the beginning, it just popped off. When my son asked me or my grandson asked me, Daddy, can you tell me, Granddaddy, can you tell me about 2020? I'd just be like, it just popped off, bro. Just next thing you know, it's just popcorn player all over the place. So I wanted to take this time to go into this segment and kind of discuss 2020. I guess let's roll the ball out a little soft pitch. What did you learn? Self-reflection. What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn in general? What things are you taking into 2021 to help make you better, Justin?
I mean, honestly, I think the things that I learned the most is just personal resilience in a lot of different ways. I think I was fortunate enough to have enough stuff to do to like keep my mind off of it, but at the same time, feeling like you don't have the same freedom that you normally have to go and do as you please, especially being single and stuff. You kind of like depend on that, and then once that's all of a sudden just taken away, like in March, okay, it was like cool. It'll be like a couple weeks, it'll be fine. Roll into April, it's like, oh man, but next month though, I'm gonna be out this summer.
I'm gonna be quiet when he around.
Right.
But when he leave, I be talking to kids.
Then May, June, July came. I was just like, oh, this ain't changing anytime soon. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna deal with this. And then it's just like, as the truth really started to sit in, and then the deaths and all this stuff, it was just like, you just had to come up with different ways to keep yourself and your spirits lifted. And I'm grateful and blessed and all whatever word you want to use to describe it to still remain employed during this period too, because I know a lot of people didn't necessarily have that luxury. So it's like just really just carrying that same gratitude, that same level of gratitude um, forward in 2021 for sure.
And just to piggyback off of that, for me, 2020 definitely taught me about gratitude of appreciating what I have instead of always focusing on what I don't have. So, uh, my mentor always tells me, Mike, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And so I've learned that. And the other thing I'm proud of myself of is taking a chance and just taking a chance and jumping out and seeing where I land. This podcast is evident of that. I've been talking about doing this podcast for years before we had the first episode, and anybody that knows me, I overthink everything. So, yes. So yeah, 2020 when the pandemic happened, it forced me to say, I could be doing something with my time, and understanding that time is a form of currency. Time and energy is really the real form of currency, and it's not money. Moving on. Let's talk about. Let's see. What else is there to talk about in 2020 that just popped off? We're gonna still keep it somewhat light. I know Justin's not gonna have much to say about this, but or maybe he will. We had a episode in season 1 where we talked about verses, and probably the biggest verses to date happened when we went off air. Jeezy versus Gucci Mane. Now, if my wife was in here right now, she would probably recite every Jeezy line to you. To me, it was epic. For so many reasons. The biggest thing for me was Jeezy's publicist should get 40% of whatever he gets in for his this last recession too, because having that verses and inviting Gucci Mane and releasing the album the next day, he probably sold way more than what he or she made him relevant again. Not to say that he wasn't, but I mean, let's be real. Nobody was really bumping Jeezy. There was some people out here thinking, man, Gucci Mane gonna beat him. And then this man started pumping out all these hits that he played. Put on for your city, you name it, man. He just had hit after hit. Now, Justin, I know you didn't watch. Did you? Have you watched it?
No, I ain't watched it.
Okay, so I know you didn't watch it. So here's my different spin, my different thought on the versus battle with Jeezy and Gucci Mane. My issue with the whole ordeal is this. We as black people love to watch two black people go at each other more than we like to watch two black people love on each other and build each other up. Agree or disagree?
I think it depends, but continue.
I tell you why. I'm not going to go into details, but we know that the Jeezy versus Gucci Mane, that's been a beef that is, somebody has literally died, from this beef. There have been bounties put on people's heads. It's been a real legit beef. And I think that was the main reason people tuned in to listen to that, to watch that. And I'm just as guilty. I mean, I'm somewhat of a good Jeezy fan. That's part of the reason I wanted to watch it. But I think people were wanting to see something happen, because if you watched it, you were on the edge of your seat the whole night, because Gucci Mane was attacking Jeezy left and really disrespectful, just blatant disrespectful. And so, but when we come together and work together, it seems to kind of not get as much press. So I mean, and like I said, if you don't believe me, all the other verses were, I think Keisha Cole and Ashanti happened last night, which I'm just gonna be honest, I had no desire to watch. But that's that's everybody else's cup of tea. It had 1.2 million, I believe. Jeezy and Gucci had over 2 million. And I think I just find it very interesting that I mean, yeah, they both had hits, but I think that a lot of it had to do with people waiting for somebody to get shot.
Gotcha. Well, I think so. Not being the person that didn't watch it at all, but taking your point into account about people watching and looking for the violence is basically what it comes down to, and having the expectation of the violence. I mean, I think part of that is a little bit baked into hip hop culture a little bit, and it's unfortunate. A part of that is also the stereotypes associated with black culture, that we're naturally more violent people, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But and the reason why it didn't get that much attention, nobody wants to. I mean, it's not exciting to see people like each other. Like, I mean, as much as you want to believe, it's like, oh, that's cool, yeah, this is what's up. Every news station has that tries to have that little section where it's like, hey, the good things that happen in the world, and it lasts for like 2 whole minutes out of the whole hour that the news is on.
Yeah.
So it's like, because they know people want to see death and destruction. It's like seeing a car wreck.
Yeah.
Everybody turns and watches a car wreck.
I just find it very interesting because, just like with, I mean, I'm going back, showing my age, with Tupac and Biggie.
Way back.
Yeah, with Tupac and Biggie, it was a big ordeal, and it was blown up in the media and overhyped. And so, and that's all I was getting at. But, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with that.
I mean, it's intentionally sensationalized. I mean, because I think part of it too. That, I mean, if you a versus, if you the people running versus, I guess Timbaland and
Swiss Beats, the monster.
I mean, that's what you want, because it's gonna bring more eyeballs to your platform. So that works well for them.
Yeah,
that's why they put them two together.
And I actually watched afterwards, and where they were talking to each other about it, and they were like, everybody was trying to tell us, don't do this, right. Don't go through with it. They're gonna end up, and they had faith, like y'all can't.
I think part of it, the one thing people gotta remember, it is at the end of the day entertainment.
Yeah.
All of it. So
I think some of it was staged. I think some of it, there's certain parts like I can't remember when in the battle, but there was a point where I was like, they're gonna end up singing "So Icy" at the end of this. Like it's inevitable now. Like they're going to finish with singing "So Icy" together.
Did they?
Yes.
Okay.
Moving on. This is kind of 2020, 2021-ish, with the COVID vaccinations. I know there's been a lot of talking to black culture about, I don't know about them, bro. They gave us civil. It's a lot of that talk. I found it interesting. I found something on Instagram where I think it was the Gyro or something like that. They were interviewing descendants of the Tuskegee Airmen,
mm-hmm.
and they were talking about the comparison. People comparing what the Tuskegee Airmen went through with that experiment to the vaccination of COVID. And they were saying this is two totally different things. He said, they were saying, hey, they gave our grandfathers or great-grandfathers a disease.
Mm-hmm.
This is a vaccine for a vaccination. It's not a cure. I mean, it's kind of a cure, I guess. And they was like, it's just different. Like, why are we even having this discussion? So, what are your thoughts on that?
I haven't seen that, but I mean, I guess I thought the Tuskegee Experiment was bigger than just the Tuskegee Airmen. I thought it had more to do with the people community and the fact that they didn't know that they were being injected.
But people referred to it as the Tuskegee Experiment.
I know, but I'm saying, but they didn't know they were getting infected with syphilis to the extent that they did, and I think there was an expectation that there would be a antidote or cure or something.
And they were never given the cure.
Right, so I think, so obviously they were given this disease to see what happens, and that's really, I think, the parallel that people draw is like, you want to have trust in your government. I think everybody wants to, but there are plenty of things that have happened in the past that make you think twice about it. And putting something in your body, I mean, nobody really wants to do that if you're not sure what the side effects are.
I think the other uncertainty is that people are hesitant about doing this or getting the vaccination is the fact of how it just rushed. you always hear how it takes years to come up with everything else, and I get it. Like if you actually do your research, you understand it's. I'm trying to the best way I can explain it is they were saying like it's kind of like having a structure already built.
Yeah.
And then gutting the structure and putting something else in the structure.
That's right.
That's basically how they created this vaccine. It's not like they went back to the drawing board and started from scratch. Yeah, started from scratch. They just took some things out to put in and put things in that could combat the virus. So, I mean,
that's exactly. I mean, science moves faster than it did.
Yeah.
I mean, the last real pandemic that had to be fought. I mean, at this scale, I mean, you got the flu like 1918 or whatever, and then polio and other things. I mean, neither one of those we had computers to do it. So, like, I mean, in smallpox. So you had all these things that happen. Yeah, it takes a long time, but I think at the end of the day, science and technology make things move a lot quicker. So that's why we can solve this problem a lot faster. And the thing is, so the woman that actually solved this issue was a black woman.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. I mean, some people think it's a conspiracy that she's just the face they want to put in front of it to get black people to do it. But yeah. I think.
But can you really blame us? Like black people in general, can you blame us how we've been treated over time?
No. I'm the first one to tell you. I know you ain't gonna stick me in that. Look, I'm the first one. I didn't get flu shots, bro.
I don't either.
I ain't never get the flu shot until I get the flu. It's like maybe when I get older or something. But I don't know. No. I don't like that. So I am not mad at anybody that says I'm not going to do any types of vaccines or anything like that.
All right, well, let's move on. So let's talk politics. So 2020, we saw the election. Hey man, shout out Joe Biden won, of course.
Oh, Joe. Third time's a charm, right?
Yeah, and then we also saw Trump can't accept defeat. What are your thoughts? I mean, I give you my thoughts. The biggest takeaway for me was black people, and I'm gonna look at the camera on this one. If you still think that your vote don't matter or don't count,
man, I'm telling you,
you cannot argue with facts. 2020 showed you how powerful the black vote is. I mean, we literally turned the Senate around to blue, turned Georgia from a traditional red state to a blue state.
Yeah.
And literally won the election, bro. Like, if you look at, the way the counts were coming in, and if you watch how they were coming in the cities in which they were starting to come in late on, it was majority black cities that were occupied by black people that were turning the vote for Biden. So now it's time to like we've always said, hold Biden and Madam Vice President Harris accountable and tell them, hey, our vote meant something. So you wouldn't be here without our vote. So if you really think that your vote doesn't count, I always refer back to 2020. What you got to add?
Yeah, I think I mentioned something about that in the last episode, and I think this is going to be a reckoning for the Republican Party because, I think I mentioned if the voting bloc consisted of 9-year-olds, then senators would always be trying to provide lollipops and Kool-Aid for everybody. But it doesn't. But now that they have literally witnessed the power of the vote in a way that I don't think has ever happened before in American history, where you can clearly see demarcated blocks of people actually make a difference, it's going to force the Republican Party to have to address their lack of diversity and the things that they don't want to address, because a lot of times the constituency doesn't want to talk about diversity and inclusion and all those types of things, but they don't have a choice. Either that, or you're going to have a fractured Republican Party, and neither one of them can ever win, because more than likely, if you have like this alt-right or right-wing whatever, Donald Trump starts his own party or something like that, then it's going to split the Republican Party in half, more than likely. So then you're always going to have a Democratic Party rule, more than likely.
I see that, but I also kind of disagree, because I think if you look at the way the Democratic Party is moving right now, it could be headed down the same pathway.
It could,
because you have the extreme left, and you know.
I don't think it's that.
But it's
not as vitriolic. It doesn't seem. Man.
It isn't, but
come on, dude.
But there are some characters in the Democratic Party that if they get enough steam rolling, like the Tea Party, you know.
Yeah, I think both of them are kind of riding on bubbles that break. Like basically, like all these folks, the QAnons and all these people that were like, they were literally expecting on Inauguration Day that something big was going to happen and Joe Biden was not going to get inaugurated. The whole world was going to explode. Like, they basically waiting for the aliens to come out from behind the moon, behind the comet, like Jim Jones or something. And because that's what Donald Trump and others kept telling them.
Looking for that Dave Chappelle moment.
Right. So it's
you want to see my face?
Yeah. So, but then nothing happened. So now you have to have a reckoning and to deal with this like psychological disconnect in your mind, like, well, he told me he was gonna walk with it. Like he told me, and then he told me that he said never happened. So it's like, you know, what do you do about it? And so I think that's the thing I took away from the presidential election is just like how, I guess, what's the word? Fanatical like these folks were towards this guy, that everything he told them, if you look at it from over the course of 4 years, he just flip-flopped on.
But I think he also played to this notion of we're going to lose something.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I think he played towards that notion of, you know,
they're trying to take something from
him.
And that's been the Republican platform for many years now.
Yeah.
And he just he played on those fears. And honestly, I don't blame him. Because I'm one of those people that's like, I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want anybody from on high to tell me how I need to live my life. And that's basically like been the issue with the Democratic Party. Is just like there's kind of like an elitist feel of like, well, you people are drinking too many Cokes. You know, we're going to outlaw the Cokes. And, you know, all of this stuff, and we need to cut high fructose corn syrup and gluten and all these things.
I counter that with the whole health talk is, you know, we're paying health care for people who, you know, you're paying taxes to provide health care for people who don't take care of themselves. Why not regulate you and say, hey, bro, put the Coke down and drink water every now and then?
I agree. But it's kind of like,
because you affected my pocket.
But it's helping people understand the big picture. And if you get out in front of that and basically make it sound like that somebody's trying to take from you,
yeah, I mean, I get it,
to accomplish the same goal.
Yeah, I get it.
Then it's just that, you know, the spin that people can put on it. So that's what I took. I enjoyed the whole show, the Donald Trump show. I hated it for what it was and for what it made people do. But at the same time, I think like most people enjoy just watching his
I loved
crash and burn.
I loved it, and I loved the fact that people were trying to act surprised. And
I definitely was surprised.
I remember in these past 4 years, a coworker of mine, I would ask him every day, has he done enough? And the answer would always be no. Like, has he done? And he'd be like, he would always say, what are you talking about? Has Trump done enough to say, all right, it's time for this man to go? And he would always say no.
Right.
And then I was like, I'm telling you, and I would explain to him, I was like, I'm telling you,
it's coming.
If he keeps this rhetoric up and he keeps these people that follow him blindly, this is what's going to happen. And he was just like, nah, you're crazy.
And that's what all these Republicans in the House of Senate
and then the day of the
like, they ain't gonna never do that.
Yeah, and then the day of the riot, he's all upset, and I was like, why are you upset? I've been telling you this for forever. I've been trying to warn you. But anyways, I'm gonna tell you the other big takeaway from me, for as far as politics in 2020, the power of Stacey. Stacey showed up and showed out.
Yeah.
She turned Georgia blue by, you know, doing her grassroots, you know, going out and getting the vote up and getting people registered and getting people. Matter of fact, if you go back to our earlier topic of verses, she opened up the Gucci Mane Jeezy verses, bruh. Just picture, if you will, you got Gucci Mane in this khaki Gucci suit from head to toe, Homeboy looking like the old school rug couch, and you got Jeezy with this fur on, and I mean it hood. They in a strip club. Was it Magic City? They in Magic City, and then on the screen here comes Stacey Abrams. Me and my wife was sitting here like, boy, if this ain't the craziest stuff I done seen ever, it like and she everybody make sure you go register to vote. Like somebody auntie.
I mean, that's what you gotta do.
And Gucci Man was like,
thugs need to vote too.
And then and then
vote too.
Gucci Man was like, can you expunge my record? And she was like, no, but if you vote, you can vote for somebody that could.
Right.
Bruh. So, but yeah, the power of Stacey, man. I think that was awesome. I can't wait to see what's next for her.
Well, I personally feel like they had it easy this time around. It's easy to point to Donald Trump and his shenanigans and be like, do you really want this again? Like, that's usually the issue. I think cyclically whenever you come off of a Republican presidency, is the Democrat base is always real fired up, and it's easy to get people to vote. Yeah. But can you get those same people to vote for the next term? Yeah. Or the next president? And that's what Hillary ran into.
Well, I think
her other issues as well.
Well,
she had other issues.
She had some other line issues. I mean, but
she was Chicken George in that thing.
Stop. Stop. I got some hot. I keep hot sauce in my purse.
Right. Time out. Time out. Wait a minute. The internet exists. You can't do that.
What? But I mean, it is what it is, man. I think I'm really excited to see what Stacey does, but I also think that with this election, I think people have realized, like, if we stop caring, we can end up back in the civil rights movement again. So we cannot let that allow that to slip again. I don't think it will happen soon, but I think over time people get comfortable.
And that's the same thing. And that's why the democracy exists the way it does, because other group of people that feel differently, they feel the same way, just in a different way.
Yeah.
That something's going to be taken from them. So yeah, I'm with you.
All right, so in my notes, the next segment is 2020 is looking real familiar.
Looking real familiar.
Everybody. What was the meme I saw? It was countdown for the New Year's, and it was like 3, 2, 1. Happy December 32nd of 2020.
That'd be some bullshit.
Man, 2021 is looking like what I thought we were over this. Let's start on a happy note. Let's start on the most recent event. Yeah. Biden's inauguration. I know I actually stayed up and watched every single bit of it. It's a lot of history, man. It's a lot of history that was made on Wednesday. On that Wednesday, from the first black and Indian descent of female vice president to the first black senator of Georgia to the first Jewish senator of Georgia, and some of the Biden's cabinet members are the first of their ethnicity to be in that position. So just a lot of history. Biden's speech, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. I watched it. I was like, if you watch Van Jones on CNN, it was the greatest thing ever. But to me, it was like, bro, he said what he needed to say. Yeah. He said, let's learn how to agree to disagree. Yeah. Basically, which I think is a powerful message. I never thought that we would get to this point, but that is a very powerful message. We have to learn how to say, you know what, I don't agree with that, but it is what it is.
I'm not even gonna burn your house down.
Exactly. Like, it's just, so I think that was the good part of his message. Trump impeachment part 2. I'm not even gonna stick on the inauguration because I'm more about action. I want to see what you're gonna do afterwards. So ask me in about 2 months how I feel about Biden. The Trump impeachment part 2. What are your thoughts?
I mean, So real quick on the inauguration, I really appreciated. I guess I have a lot of reverence for the history that's being made, and I hope people understand that this is important because it's all about representation at the end of the day. You know, your government should represent what you look like, and unfortunately, they're in the Republican Party, whether they intend to do it or not, have tried to make it seem like the country consists of a certain group of people, or it should only consist of a certain group of people. And we know that's not true when you look outside your windows or drive down the street. So now it's important to see that your government has the backgrounds or experiences that represent the things that you do on a day-to-day basis or what you see in your household. So that's why that's important. Trump impeachment part two. I mean, we'll see. I mean,
Before you go in there, you're right. I should have. My bad for not letting you, for cutting you off. But
I mean, that's a thing.
Yeah, it is a thing.
That's a thing. Might be cutting folks off.
But
he be cutting.
With the inauguration, one thing I forgot was the biggest takeaway from I learned from the Trump situation and Biden coming in and Trump leaving before leaving before anything, the inauguration started. But the thing I learned is the conspiracy theory is kind of like, in so many words, they wanted it to happen this way. And by they, whoever they is. But as DJ Khaled would say, they wanted it to happen this way because I think people had this notion of anybody could run for president. And it takes a special person to be a president. I really think that it takes a special person to admit they're wrong. It takes a special person to admit defeat. It takes a special person because they were talking about the first Bush and Clinton, and Clinton was saying when Bush lost to him, he still was like, I hope you make this country. I'm hoping that you when Trump beat quote unquote Obama's legacy, if you will, Trump still wrote a nice letter saying, if you need me, call me.
You mean Obama wrote a nice letter?
Yeah, excuse me. Obama wrote a nice letter saying, if you need me, call me, because I'm vested in you having a good term, because if you have a good term, we Americans won. So, and Trump was not that. I don't know why people were so surprised, like on CNN. They did everything but call that man the B word on public TV. But I felt like,
because it's TV, they got to do that.
But man, I mean, why? I just don't understand. TV. Why are you surprised?
But it's TV.
He's a maverick. He's always been that way.
It's TV.
He was going.
Yeah, it's TV.
All right, you're right. Let's move on. Impeachment part 2. Impeachment part 2. What are your thoughts? I'll say this real quick. I think people don't understand that, like, he's out of office. Why are we trying to convict him? The thing is, if you convict him, he cannot run in 2024, and he loses all his benefits as a past president.
Yep.
So get your spin on.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, that's the whole goal, is to prevent, I guess, a potential of a Trump 2024 and him still being privy to national secrets and all this type of stuff, because he obviously clearly has not shown himself to be worthy of that type of information and that type of privilege. And I think, I mean, the big thing too to me is like the fact that private industry is exerting its force against him. He's lost the PGA, he's getting kicked out of all this stuff, he's losing a whole lot of money because of his actions. And I mean, anybody who's been paying attention can see the things that he's done personally to make sure that happens, and the fact that he didn't divest himself from his business, which he said he would do. He also didn't release his tax returns, which he said he was going to do year in and year out. So there's a bunch of things there that's just like, people are like, this is way too sketchy. So I think it comes down to Mitch McConnell. If he's going to take it seriously in the Senate, I think. I'm
glad you said that.
I think this House is going to deliver the articles to the Senate on Monday, and it comes down to Mitch McConnell. Now, I think that because you don't have this president in office anymore, a lot of these senators are going to grow a backbone and, start acting all big and bad because they ain't got to deal with this noise anymore. And the fact that he's been kicked off of Twitter and all these other platforms. So you ain't got to deal with the potential that comes with it. Because what I learned, I guess, during this Capitol riot stuff was like a lot of these senators and House of Representatives, if they spoke out against Trump, they would receive death threats. And like from just, ordinary citizens through social media and all this stuff. So it's like, I can understand from that aspect if you got a family and you got somebody that is so wound up in the Trump mania and the things that he's saying without fact checking, I think it would make you be hesitant in terms of your decision. Now, is it noble to stand up for your country? I think so. Because, I mean, going back to Hank Aaron, he stood up and still played baseball even though they threatened to kill him, and he still beat the record. So, I mean, but black people have been doing this for centuries. So we're used to it. So I think that's what's important in all of this is like the Trump impeachment. They have to do this in order to prove a point that you can't come here and act a fool as a president. You can't be a conspiracy theorist as a president.
So here's my thing. I think Trump got played, and here's what I mean by that. Mitch McConnell had an agenda. I need to get this Republican president in here, get the Senate, get the House, and get my Supreme Court justice in that I want, and things of that nature. And then now that he's gotten everything he needed, everything he wanted, his wish list, it was like, okay, you lost. Bye-bye. Go on with your life. And
I don't know how that benefits Mitch McConnell though,
because he got everything I can't remember what I was.
Because he almost got voted out.
Yeah, he did, but the thing is, he's still there, and he got everything he needed. And then if you really watch how things unfolded, like Mitch McConnell's wife was President Trump's or former President Trump's Secretary of Transportation.
And technically, he didn't get everything he needed because now the Senate is split.
Yeah, I mean, it came at a cost.
I get you.
But I think.
But what's the agenda?
He put 3 new Supreme Court justices in. What name a president has done that? Name the last.
No, I'm talking for Mitch McConnell.
That's it.
But see, those Supreme Court judges, they're more moderate than they are conservative.
Are they though?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they are not as
watch this. We can agree to disagree.
We are. That's fine.
I just feel that the way that Lindsey Graham and all these people kind of did a about face after the riots.
That's what they're supposed to. Yeah,
man, they knew that junk was coming. They aroused these people. I mean, that's the next topic too. So we'll go into that. They incited these people and basically directed them. The second they said Biden won, it was you. If you watch Twitter, Instagram, anything else, they were like January 6th, mark the date.
Yeah.
People were like, all right.
Yeah, because that's what the president told them to do.
We gonna be there.
The problem was the Republicans were complicit in it because they didn't do anything about it. They could have. I think even if they agreed to still
but if I create enough chaos, I'm gonna get a lot more other stuff done. I still feel like there's things that have been done that we're yet to find out.
I mean, I'm sure that just from the way the Capitol riots kind of played out and everything. I mean, I just feel like the senators. I just feel like the senators in that moment in the certification of the vote, given the fact that over that long period of time, I mean, almost a year ahead of the election, when you float the idea of potential voter fraud to your followers and your blind followers for that matter, and you basically prime all these people to think that that's going to be the case, and then they feel like. All these people feel like that they are patriots because this vote was rigged and all these things. Yeah, everybody should have seen it coming, but I don't think they actually believe people are going to act on it because, and I think it goes back to, I think, the racial piece of it, as much as people don't want to agree with it, or may not agree with it, it's just that the expectation is a wild, angry mob of white people toting guns is not going to be dangerous for whatever reason. And because they feel like that they're more patriotic than a bunch of black people in the street.
I go even further and say, when black people say we're just gonna go show up at the Capitol, we ain't gonna do nothing.
Right.
We're just gonna show up and march and say that we not happy. They had guns blazing and everything ready for them.
I mean, I personally think it was an inside job. I think there was a lot more. I mean, just the fact that the police officers that we've seen in social media, some of them taking selfies with these folks. I mean, that's your job to protect the Capitol,
regardless of
whatever. That's your job. You signed up for that. So the fact that you sitting there trying to be cool with these folks, that's a problem. So to me, it's like I think it was an inside job on multiple levels, and that's what I hope to see throughout this impeachment process. Is that evidence come out? I hope to see, which I think we'll see under the Biden administration, trust start to be picked back up on our intelligence communities, which was discredited off the jump. That's the first thing that Donald Trump did. Which, if you, I mean, guys, y'all got to think about it. If you want to get anything over anybody's head, you got to discredit the media and discredit intelligence off the bat. And then once you do that, people have to think twice about, well, is the FBI really? Maybe they're liberal. I don't know. Maybe it's that it just gives fodder for the talking heads on these media stations to really sow doubt in people's minds. And then once the people are doubtful, then things like this can happen open and freely. And that's the thing that we have to understand as people and understand what we consume. The rule of thumb I always use, same rule of thumb I use when I buy stuff online. You never look at the 5-star rating. If you're consuming any type of news media that's always positive, always good, all the time, and all the good things, you need to stop watching it because something is probably not wrong. Because there's no way you can always be perfect towards a cause, no matter how good you are as a leader. Somebody's going to disagree, so you always got to go down and try to find that one station that's got that 3-star, that 2-star, and be like, what the 2-star person said about it? Because that's true. Like, I mean, it's like, what's the 2-star? Because that's that's going to be the honest, like, okay, this thing worked, but it didn't work well and all that stuff, and not just this is the best thing ever, because something's probably wrong. So just think about stuff like that next time you consume different media outlets, because nothing is ever all positive all the time.
All right, real quick before we go into before you eat segment, let's discuss the different thought, if you will, on this topic.
The different thought.
I guess it's really a question, with all the riots and things that have taken place. It's very easy to point the finger at the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
But should we be looking at the Democratic Party? Are they at fault for anything? I'll let you.
What them dirty Dems have to do with this? I mean, I get tired talking about politics too all the time, but it just happens to be the flavor of the month. I mean, I think from the Democratic Party standpoint, it goes back to what I said earlier. I think they got to stop being so elitist about things because poor working people don't want to be told how to do things. And as growing up in that type of situation, like I think about what my dad would think about, the way the Democratic Party is. I think he would have, given how he grew up, I think he would have, maybe told the party line, but at the same time, he was a farmer and very independent individual. So it's like when you got people trying to tell you how to live, how to do, and how to think, it's gonna make you upset. Naturally, it's gonna make you upset. So I think so. Now you got a bunch of, you got the white fragile, you got the white entitled people that feel like something's all of a sudden going to be taken from them. Well, now you just set the flame, and now all Trump did was just blow on it.
I say that, and I say the Democratic Party, in my opinion, needs to adopt or go back to however you want to look at it, the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
I think it has become the party of everything else. Yeah. And
I don't know what the principles. The original principle of the Democratic Party was labor unions. Like it was for labor and working people.
Right.
Now it's like you trying to fit in all this other stuff to get it done.
And I think in that you alienated some of these people that I come in contact with on a day-to-day basis that are like, hey, like you said, I don't believe that you should be telling me when I can drink Coke or whatever, but right. I do believe in some of these values that you guys embody. So I think they got to go back to the keep it simple, stupid method, and here are our key principles. Here's what we stand for, and move on, and stop trying to not piss off everybody. And because if you try to please everybody, that's a better way of saying it. If I'm trying to please everybody, I end up losing myself and that's what I see in the Democratic Party. And in terms of that, I feel like when you do that, you create things like the Tea Party, and you create all these other entities.
Quinoa.
You talking about that rice? You talking about that fake rice? Quinoa. You get all this craziness, man. So I'd say, I think that's why I blame them as that you alienate enough people, you create craziness like this. Yeah. Anything else you want to add before you eat?
No, I think that sums it up, man. It's just I think both parties. I hope that both parties had kind of a wake up call when you start. I mean, anybody's going to react when you start putting folks' families in danger, especially your own. I don't think that they believed that people could actually get to them in the way that they did in the Capitol. I think they felt like they were safe irrationally, and now they see, okay, look, that's actually the blessing in disguise. I mean, you really think about it. I mean, you had just a group of, you know, crazy folks just walked up to the Capitol and just really just walked up in that thing.
Mm.
I mean, it could have been anybody with a lot worse intentions. Now, those folks had bad intentions.
Yeah.
But they wasn't firing at the building or anything like that, or just shooting the place up. So it could have been it really could have been a whole lot worse. So I hope that the military police and the Capitol Police and everybody has learned from this situation what can happen. But I still think that there was an inside job and that there may have been some influences from the president to the Capitol Police and military police and that to not act.
Yeah. I agree. I don't disagree with that at all. I just, like I said, I wanted to take a different approach and say, let's not concentrate on the Republican Party. I think everybody had.
The Democrats
had a hand to play in.
The Democrats are culpable. They gotta. I mean, you just gotta be in their intent to be really open minded. You end up being closed minded to people that don't necessarily want to meet you where you at. So they gotta be able to reach out and meet people where they at more often.
All right. Well. As always, this is what was it? James, also known as Justin McBath. I'm Mike Hayes, and that's our discussion for the day. Let's move on to our Before You Eat segment. Before You Eat segment is going to be on Cheyney University of Pennsylvania. Cheyney University was founded on February 25th of 1837. It is known as the first historic black college and university. So let me read a little bit about it. So on February 25th of 1837, Cheyney University of Pennsylvania became the nation's first historical black college and university, also known as the HBCU. The university was established through the bequest of Richard Humphreys, a Quaker philanthropist who gave 1/10 of his estate to design a school to educate African Americans and prepare them as teachers. So for today, our Before You Eat segment is on Cheyney University. As always, we encourage you all to go look it up, go find out more about Cheyney University. And as always, we challenge you to think, do, be different. Thank you again for listening to Different Thought Podcast.